Matthew chapter 9 and verse 35, that he was going through the towns and villages teaching, preaching, and healing. 36, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. He sees that there are a great number of people, that the only way that they can be reached is by having more workers go. 10:1 reads, he called his 12 disciples to him and gave them authority to drive out evil spirits, to heal every disease and sickness. 7 and 8, as you go, preach this message. The kingdom of heaven is near. Who preached that message before? John the Baptist and Jesus. Further, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy. Don't take any gold or silver or copper in your belts or bag for your journey, or an extra tunic or sandals or a staff. Take nothing with you. Whatever town, verse 11, or village you enter, search for some worthy person there and stay at his house until you leave. Give it your greeting. And if the house is deserving, let your peace rest on it. If not, your peace will return to you. And if no one welcomes you, shake the dust off your feet before you leave that home or town, and it'll be easier for Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town. And then a little bit later he says, if you're persecuted, verse 22, 23, flee to another place if you're persecuted in one place. And this reminds us that there's a certain haste to mission. If people don't receive you, there is a place and a time to say, I'm done. I mean, sometimes it's the right thing to get killed. But basically, if they persecute you, don't stay and get slaughtered, and don't compromise. As he goes out, verses 17 to 23, the fact that they'll be betrayed, they'll be handed over, he says, I'm sending you out like sheep among wolves, therefore be shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. Student is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the student to be like his teacher, and the servant like his master. And just as Jesus receives opposition, even death threats, you will too. Jesus says, go first to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Give freely, Jesus said. Jesus never charged for his miracles. Freely you've received, verse 8, freely you shall give. Just slightly different words. Luke 6:40, a student is not above his teacher, but everyone when he is fully trained will be like his teacher. And John 13:16, no servant is greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. John 15:20, remember the words I spoke to you. No servant is greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours as well. Chapter 10, verse 26, don't be afraid of them if they're persecuting you. And then again at the end, he says, don't be afraid. You are worth more than many sparrows. They can kill your body, but they cannot kill your soul. If God sees the death of a sparrow, don't fear. He sees your life as well. The confession of a disciple, verse 32 and 33, whoever acknowledges me before men, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. Even though he is the Prince of Peace, he comes to bring a sword on the earth. He comes to set a man against his father, a daughter against her mother. A man's enemies will be within his own household. But we have to be willing to pay a price. We have to be willing to love Jesus more than family. Have to be willing to love Jesus more than we love ourselves. 37 says, more than we even love our own life. Then he starts talking to them about John the Baptist. And he praises John the Baptist. He is the greatest prophet. Verse 16, to what can I compare this generation? 11:16, they're like children sitting in the marketplace and calling out to others, we played the flute for you and you did not dance. We sang a dirge and you did not mourn. Now I'll tell you, that's one of the Bible verses I always wondered about for a long time. I'm going to tell you what it means. Then he goes on to say, John came neither eating nor drinking. They said he has a demon. The Son of Man, that's Jesus of course, comes eating and drinking, and they say, here is a glutton and a drunkard and the friend of tax collectors and sinners. What he's saying is this. People chose not to respond to John, but they also chose not to respond to the Son of Man. We just want to sit around and mope and criticize. They didn't like John. They said, John has a demon. He's too negative. All right, Jesus comes saying, let's dine. Let's get a lot of people together. Let's celebrate. The kingdom of God is here. What's wrong with him? What's he so happy about? The problem is not with the message, but it's with the recipients. They're going to call you members of the house of Beelzebub, he says in 10:25. This is the day when Jesus stopped ministering one-on-one with everybody and started to send out his emissaries who would multiply his work by 10. They could reach 12 times as many people. Then maybe one more thing I should say here. Wisdom is justified or proved right or vindicated, depending on your translation, by her children. That is to say, you'll see in the end that John the Baptist and Jesus are the wisdom of God. But there will be a day when we'll be justified.